everyone, welcome to this very special show. Well, आज हम एक ऐसी कंपनी के बारे में बात करने जा रहे हैं जो अपने बिजनेस में उन्होंने बहुत ज़बरदस्त ग्रोथ देखी है. अगर हम पिछले 3-4 साल से बात करें, मैं बात कर रही हूँ टाटा कम्युनिकेशंस की. क्विकली बता दूँ कंपनी के बारे में. दे ओन एंड ऑपरेट द वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट सबमरीन फाइबर नेटवर्क. 500,000 किलोमीटर से ज़्यादा ऑफ सबसी फाइबर इट हैज़. और अगर हम उनके ओवरऑल क्लाइंट्स और प्रेजेंस की बात करें, वेल इट्स अ ट्रूली ग्लोबल कंपनी. 190 कंट्रीज़ में प्रेजेंस है. एंड in fact, the company handles 1 out of every 7 international calls and connects more than 70% of the world's mobile carriers. Well, a powerful company that we are talking about, and with me is the head, in fact, the management, MD and CEO of Tata Communications, Mr. A.S. Lakshmi Narayanan. बहुत स्वागत है sir. It's a pleasure that you gave us time and you're talking to us here.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. शुरुआत मैं इसी से करना चाहूँगी. आपने जब से you took on the reins of this company 2019, challenging period था क्योंकि उसके बाद कोविड सेट इन हुआ. एंड तब से लेकर अब तक हम नंबर्स में देखते हैं तो आपके कंपनी का मार्केट कैप एक्चुअली 4.5 times बढ़ा है. फ्रॉम 10,000 odd crores today it's sitting at 48,000 crores. So clearly your strategy or the reimagined strategy जिसके बारे में आपने बात की है is working. बताइए हमें more about this strategy and where the journey I'm sure is just starting. So क्या दिख रहा है आगे विजन को लेकर अगर इस कंपनी की बात करते हैं?
Thank you, Swati. I think the last 3 years performance has been truly amazing. I think the teams have done a great job in getting us to where we have come to. But looking ahead, we think we have an even more exciting future. Our strategy, simply put, had financial fitness at the heart of the strategy. We used to say that's a goal as well as a strategy. It's a goal because where we came from, the company had very high debts. The margins were at 16% and ROCE was at 8%. So we needed to clearly strengthen the balance sheet and that became a goal. But it's an important part of our strategy because as part of financial fitness, we also said it's just not fit to compete but fit to grow as well. So now that we have got our balance sheet in order, we are funding more and more investments which will help us to grow in the future.
Okay.
The other part of the strategy was, we are a B2B specialist, right? So we are not a player who is doing B2C and also addressing enterprise segment. And we are trying to reposition ourselves to be a comtech player, as we internally call ourselves, because people get a slap on the wrist if they say, we are a telecom company. That's who we were.
In fact, that's one of the questions I'm going to ask. बहुत सारे लोग Tata Communications exactly क्या करती है? Because the business is a little bit difficult for people to understand. So we'll come to that, sir. Sure. Yes.
So I think the strategy had multiple parts. Besides the financial fitness, we said, how do you address large enterprise customers, right? So the enterprise customers was the focus, and we organized ourselves to deeper with fewer, go deeper into that, try and see how many customers that we can get of $1 million plus in that segment of customers that we address. And we want to address both the markets in India as well as internationally.
Sure.
And that's part of the customer segmentation that we address. The second is about our product portfolio itself. We were traditionally in the connectivity field. We had invested even in the past in certain areas, but we didn't have enough of our own, what I call as a secret sauce, right? So it used to be, of course we partner with the Microsoft, we partner with the Cisco for collaboration and others, but it tended to be more of OEM-led solutions as opposed to something of our own. So we strengthened building our own IP, building our own secret sauce on top of all of this, which we call as a platform play. So on top of these, we built a lot of, and we bolted on a lot of strong services capability. This in a sense is what is a strategy. And then as overall strategy, we said we have 2 commitments. One is commitment to sustainability, and we are well on our path. We declared our goals on sustainability as well. And our commitment to AI and automation internally.
Okay.
And underlying that, we had to transform the culture capability of the organization, because it's not easy to build the new capabilities, people thinking about digital, people thinking about all of these.
Sure.
So all of that capability. So that is what we call as a strategy on a page. And going ahead, looking forward, and that's delivered very well so far.
That's what I was saying. 3 years only, and you've done so much. I mean, you've talked about how you would try and transform the company with all the legacy issues it had to where it's reached. And especially आपने जब financial discipline की बात की, I think that definitely has played out very well, very strong, and you know the investors look at it you know in a very positive way. So when it comes to the step 2 now, आपने financial discipline ले आया, and you did talk about what you're building on. But give us a sense, sir, and this is a question that I'm not asking, but people who watch us ask us, आप Nifty company कब बनेंगे? How soon do you think will happen?
I think I look at what we need to do in terms of being relevant to our customers, looking at how we can deliver our results, and the rest the markets have to decide. But we have declared a very ambitious plan for the future ahead, right?
Sure.
Because in the last 3 years from a reimagined strategy, we've almost ticked on all the boxes. The last box that we were waiting to tick on was the growth box, and I think last year we delivered a 10% growth. And with that, whatever we had declared as our goal for the 3 years, we ticked on all the boxes and more. In some places, we double ticked as well. But looking ahead, we say that our strategy remains the same. Our focus is on enterprise customers, but we are now shifting gears from being a platform player. In the next 3-4 years time, our vision is to become a digital fabric for enterprises, right? So what I mean by digital fabric is, if you look at an automotive player, a car manufacturer, right? So we think of the car as another node in the network, right? So some people say the car is a computer on wheels, right? So I think of that as a node in the network, as an edge node in the network. So we will have our edge platform in the car. We will have our move platform in the car, which enables all the connected car experiences. And all the way to, if you look at the factories, we will enable all the industrial connectivity as a service with our connected solutions, whether it's enable all the IoT, enable the industry 4.0 use cases. That's what we will do in the factories. And if you come to the branches, then the branches will become all software defined. Now, how do you enable with the Wi-Fi 6 and intelligence around that? And then taking it to all the wide area networks. So how do you connect the branches to the cloud? How do you
integrating yourself to the digital
all
setup?
Of that, right? And then if you look at the consumers, how they interact with the consumers. Right? Today, the consumer interactions are very broken for many B2C companies. So if you look at the automotive companies, they interact with their car owners and prospective buyers, but there are dealers who interact as well, and people don't know all of what interaction goes on between dealers and the consumers.
So that gap
so the
also.
entire consumer interaction is what we are doing with our customer interaction platform, which we have launched. So this in essence is a digital fabric, and this fabric, our vision is that this fabric is consumed with APIs by applications. People can build up. We are not an application player, right? So application players can build the applications on top of it. And the fabric will be very agile, fabric will be very secure.
So a lot of
and it'll be global.
sectors and global.
It will address financial services, it will address manufacturing, it will address retail, all the segments. Yeah.
Interesting actually, the way the business is growing and the way you're looking at opportunities to actually, plug yourself in and leverage out of it. I was talking to you about how the company is different, and then for the interest of again our viewers, Tata Telecommunications, Tata Consultancy Services, and there is Tata Communications. हमें थोड़ा सा समझाएंगे आप यहाँ पर कहाँ different हैं?
See, as I said, Tata Communications, our vision is to be a digital fabric. TCS is clearly an SI, and they do a lot more work of consulting, system implementations, correct, and all related to application and infrastructure as well. But we are, we come from a background of network and connectivity, and we are elevating ourselves closer to the application arena by saying, hey, you can consume. Previously, when people think of network, they used to think of wires and boxes. Well. Right? So we now are saying, look, that's old school. Now you can, we can network. You just give us an API and we'll get your applications connected, right? So that's what our vision is. So we come from that background, and we will elevate ourselves to see how we can get closer to the application through elevating our infrastructure network to become consumable through APIs and so on. So that's the place that we would play.
Sure.
The other company, Tata Teleservices, that you talked about, they are also in the network. They are focused in India. They are focused on the small and medium segment of the customers. So we operate in a different segment. We are more a global player, and we address the large enterprises requirements.
Sure, fair enough. So that's the segregation, and that's what each of the company does. When we talk of the group's IT, digital, technology piece, I think all three in some ways participate.
No, absolutely. I think the group is now invested in Phages as well, which is another OEM player.
Yes,
so all of these put
that's
together has a very
part
synergistic value to the enterprise.
Okay, lovely. Now coming to the margins, sir, and आपने कहा था when you took on margins is something you worked on, और अभी हम 20% plus 21-22% margins आपकी तरफ से देखते हैं. Do you think this run rate will continue, or you can better the margins going forward?
No, we will better it because we have stated our ambition to be 23 to 25%. We believe we can get there. And we had also called out earlier during our investor day, and when we talked about the strategy for the next 3-4 years, we have to invest in order to grow. It cannot happen without investment. Right? So we have to investment. So there are a few things, a few characteristics that we need to understand. The business is now, if for simplicity's sake, I'll split it into two parts. One is the core connectivity. So core connectivity is the kind of solutions for connecting all data centers, for example. How do clouds connect? How do data centers connect? Which are big pipes, lot of data transfer. That's core connectivity, which is somewhat traditional, and we are modernizing that as well. Globally, the core connectivity is going down. Going down more not because enough data is not getting transferred. There's a lot more data getting transferred, but it's getting commoditized, and the prices are coming down, and therefore there is a pressure on the growth. In that environment, we said our core connectivity will grow still from a low single digit to a mid single digit growth is what we anticipate, because we are modernizing the network and we are connected to almost all the global cloud players. In India, we are a market leader in connecting all the data centers in India. Right? So that will still grow, but grow at a smaller portion. That part of the business has very high capex investment. So we have to invest in fiber. It's a high capex investment, and it comes with a high gross margin, because and the characteristic of that is high gross margin but high capex as well. In the digital part of the business, it comes with lower capex, but it comes with lower gross margin. Gross margin. Now, and within the digital portfolio, we are in a number of portfolios, right? So we are in the next generation of connectivity, which is all about internet and software-defined WAN. We are in connected experiences and connected solutions. Each of these have a different margin profile, and because by nature, this portfolio has a lower gross margin, there is going to be pressure on gross margin level as we grow this faster than this growth, right? So that's a mix effect that will play into, and that's by design and that's by strategy.
Yeah, that's a smart one, because you're kind of de-risking yourself in many ways.
I mean, if you stayed here, you can't grow anyway, right? So you have to grow. So we are focusing on. The second aspect of our margin pressure now that we see is also because of the investments in people. So last year we added over 1,000 people in the company. We have trained over 1,000 people in AI in the company. So we're investing in capabilities in the company, both on the sales and marketing side, as well as in the product engineering and services side. So that investment is going. And that investment played out in the last few quarters where we saw the cost going up, and that will play out this year as well as a full year's cost. So that's the second reason why you're seeing a
slight dip in the
margin.
Yeah.
The third reason is we are also pursuing an M&A strategy. We announced a couple
of acquisitions. I was coming to that.
So, and that has related M&A costs and so on and so forth, and that's played out. So this quarter, when we announced our results, like you said, it's 21.5. But if I normalize for other expenses that came for acquisitions, and if I take out the Switch acquisition which played into this,
only operationally
it would be about 23%, right? So, but having said that, I also said that we will not be too fussed if you went below 23%, because 23 to 25 is our aspiration. But we have to invest, which will mean that we will see a dip, and then we will come back to the normal.
Now, and you're investing in future, as you said.
Absolutely.
So M&A or an inorganic growth path is something I understand you will have to follow. So strategy around acquisitions kya hogi aage?
So I'll talk specifically about the two
Switch
or the three, actually, the Switch, Kaleyra, and we also announced the Oasis announcement. So 3 of them, and each one of them plays in different market segments. So firstly, about the Switch, we have a very strong media segment in the company. So with media, you would have heard that we are a partner for Formula 1, Formula E. We do most of the cricket, we do ATP tennis, we do SailGP. So most of the large global sporting event is done by Tata Communications, right? And we have transformed that industry alongside with our customers, where previously there used to be trucks going to the production stadiums and high expense, very large carbon footprint. All of that were happening because the production units were going to the stadium. Now what we are doing is taking it all to remote production. So for example, the Formula One, all of that goes back to London, where it gets produced, and then it goes to over 500 million viewers around the world, right? So that's a big transformation, and we are at the heart of the transformation, not only saving costs for them, but also saving on carbon emissions, right? So it's a huge plus. It works both ways. So that's our media segment, and that's been doing very well organically. Now on top of that, we have added The Switch, which is a very focused company in the US that does most of the football and other sporting events in the US. Besides giving us the market reach in the US with this acquisition, they also have very strong production capability, right? So for example, when we do for Formula One or Formula E, for example, we take it all from the stadium and hand it over to somebody else for production, and then we pick it up from there and take it for distribution. Now this production was not ours. So now we have that capability, and we can offer customers more an end-to-end solution. Yeah, okay, so it brings it gives us a market reach, it enhances our product scope. So that's what The Switch does. Similarly, if you look at Kaleyra, the same thing. I talked about the customer interaction portfolio that we have invested with. So that
helps you.
Kaleyra helps us with doing that. And similarly, the OSs in the connected solution space, very innovative. One of the major players in eSIMs. Some of the new phones like iPhone, for example, comes with eSIM. In the US, it's eSIM only. In India, you get both the physical SIM, you can have an option, but soon the next release will be only eSIM, right? eSIM. So the world is moving to eSIM. And these people, OSs, have invested in eSIM. They are major players in eSIM, and we have invested in the company. So we want to be a major player in that ecosystem of eSIM, and it bolts on very nicely to our Move portfolio, which enables an always-on, always connected capability for IoT, right? So these are some of the acquisitions, and they are very strongly aligned to the portfolios, either in terms of capability or in terms of geography reach.
Sure. So the future acquisition strategy, how will that play out? Kya specific segments that you think you want to, again, fill in those gaps? Yeah. Are you on a lookout? Anything that is on the table at this point in time?
Nothing on the table at the moment, okay. But we have a strong team that's looking at these opportunities constantly. So we are scanning the market. We're receiving many opportunities as well, because a few years ago, nobody would have even considered talking to us. Now that people are knocking on our doors and say, hey, are you interested?
And now you're choosing.
And now we can choose. Yeah. But it has to be a right fit. So sure. we are looking at the right opportunities, evaluating them.
Mm-hmm. There was in 2017, I think, Tata Communications ne tab, of course that time you were not there, but I just want to understand that enterprise business of Tata Teleservices, is that a possibility now? Do you think that's a right?
Two different companies. I don't want to comment on that. There's nothing in front of the board at the moment.
Fair enough. That's a good enough update. Land monetization. I think again, this adds to a lot of weight to the company and confidence amongst investors, क्योंकि आपके पास एक huge, healthy land bank है. What is the update on the monetization of that? What are you going to do going forward? How much does it value if you were to check or see it from the current value standpoint?
So in terms of a strategy, we presented our strategy to the board. Obviously, there is a lot of land parcels which are very valuable, but there are complexities in monetizing it, right? So, right from the titles to the land usage and what you can use it for and what you can't use it for, and so on and so forth. So we are going about it very systematically, addressing one by one issues of how do you address the title, how do you address the land usage, and the opportunity has to be right opportunity so that we can monetize at the maximum value that we think we can do, right? So it's a series of steps that we need to take. One can't precede the other.
No,
we
fair
need
enough.
To clear all of that.
But
so
iski value kya hai, sir, total?
That's very hard to, of
but
course we have
a ballpark figure to give us a sense at this point in time.
We haven't put out a number in the public. Because it depends, it depends on the land usage. If the land usage can be converted to something else,
Then
the value could be
can
very
change,
something, right?
yeah.
So there's a big variability on all of this, and also depends on the market, right? Now the data centers are booming. If somebody wants for a data center use, then the value
by the
could
way,
be
yeah,
very
data
high.
center, I'm told कि उसके लिए land की requirement
yeah,
या
today-
opportunity बहुत है. So, are you in talks with some companies for this?
For all the properties, we are looking at the right use, right? So obviously, data center is one possible use. Today, if you
Okay,
look
can
at
you
India,
give me a sense कि कितना land parcel में से what is that can be, which is clean and nice and can be, given away? What
I
part
don't
of
have
it-
the precise number, but there's nothing we can say. It's if it was so clean and we would have done it already, right? So it's all of them are going through that process. So I don't know what is
The
going to
good
come
thing
next.
is the land
but some
prices
things,
have only
you will
gone up,
see
so-
you will see things coming through the funnel because there is a dedicated team
Okay.
working on it, right?
Expected by when, sir? What
Again,
financial year?
it's very difficult to put a number or a time frame.
But
on
it's
this
moving
because
ahead.
Not all of it is in our control, right? So,
Fair enough. I know there are state governments and other things.
Absolutely.
And sure, but definitely progress
We
हो
will
रहा है.
make progress. Yeah, we are making progress.
Okay. Capex क्या line up करेंगे for FY 24-25? You've talked about this whole fueling growth plans. So how much? What is the number?
So we have always maintained that our capex envelope would be in the range of $250 to $300 million. Right?
Okay.
So there'll be some
Yeah.
pluses and minuses in a few years, but that's the envelope with which we are going to be working on. Right? So and that comprises of certain capex spent to sustain what we have. So the fiber needs to be replaced, fiber needs to be maintained, electronics needs to be replaced in those fiber, and so on and so forth. So that's one element of it. The other is about how do we invest for growth, even if it is either a fiber asset that we have to invest, new cable systems, and all of that we need to do. So new data centers and a lot of these coming. So what investments are there? And the third is investing in our own platforms, which is more software related rather than fiber assets related. So these are the categories of investments we do. And the fourth is very customer specific capex. So some customers, we have a big customer,
Sure.
they want something specific done for them, then we prepare a case just for that customer. And for customer specific cases, we take it as it comes, right?
Okay.
So but overall envelope is 250 to 300 million. We are quite comfortable with that envelope to
That
take the
continues.
business forward.
Okay.
Yes.
आपने शुरू में कहा था बहुत क्लीन अप में obviously debt was one of the big challenges which has come down quite substantially. तो इस वक्त डेट क्या है और उसको और deleverage करने का क्या प्लान है over the next 4-5 years?
So debt levels are very comfortable. So we used to be 3x, 4x, and the net debt to EBITDA was at that level. Now we are at 1.3. So it's quite comfortable level. So we have deleveraged quite significantly. And I think I've said in the past, we are in no great rush to completely get it down to zero because the cash that we generate, we have to reinvest back into the business. If we can't reinvest immediately, then it goes to clear the debts. Obviously, we are paying back the shareholders through dividends as well. So, that's the order in which we will do. But given that there are new investments that we have lined up, so including Kalera and others, all of these will be funded through the cash and debt. So, which is why we said in our long-term strategy, looking forward, as we put out our ambitions to say that we want to double our data business in the next 4 years, that is going to require investments. And we have said that we'll be comfortable at 2x. So we can take up our debt levels if required.
Sure. Okay, so that's comfortable situation as you said. It's very interesting from the conversation we've had so far. What I've gathered is that you are very, very upbeat about the opportunity and the business outlook. I don't even see that you're sounding cautious, but very optimistic in many ways because I think there is demand and there is that much capabilities that you've built and generated. My question to you is that the growth we've seen in last 4 years, 3 years, as you took on, and because there is that number and timelines, I'm saying, and I said it in the beginning कि आपने 4.5 times market cap बढ़ा दिया. क्या यही pace या इससे ज़्यादा pace की आप expectation रखते हैं going forward? Because this was a very strong growth.
No, our ambition is to grow faster. Right? So, if you look at the past few years, our CAGR growth was around 6%.
6.6.
6.6. More precise. So, what we are looking to do in the next 4 years is double the data growth, right? Which is going to require that we are going to be in high teens growth. So the ambition is very, very steep, right? And the reason we put that ambition out is because of a firm belief that there is opportunity out
Sure.
there. Right? Today, as I explained, our business is 50% India, 50% is
Global.
international. And India, we are a market leader in the B2B space. Internationally, we are tiny.
So the
we
world is,
you have big opportunities. The white space available there is so much. So we are going to be a very strong and a meaningful challenger there. And with the breadth of the portfolio that we are creating as a digital fabric, addressing everything, we are feeling confident that we can be even more relevant to the enterprises in their digital journey. And that's where our confidence comes from.
Okay.
Right? So it's about long term. It's not about next quarter or this year per se.
No, sure.
But this is about what
The
we see as a future.
Yeah.
And we think that we are a very unique company that way, right? You wouldn't find another company in the world. So very often, when I came in, people used to say, "How do I compare you with?"
Yeah, exactly.
Who do I compare you with?
Who is your like to like?
Yeah, and I say, look, there's nobody you can compare me with because I'm not a telco. And I have some of the characteristics of a service provider because we always are a managed services provider. So if you look at our cloud portfolio or security portfolio, we are a managed service provider there. And even in the network, we provide an end-to-end managed service. But the services was never highlighted in the company. So we are now a platform company with a very strong services capability that we are taking to the market, which is very unique. And that is what we are setting ourselves to be in.
So it's easy to say that 48,000 crores market cap is again 5 times over the next 3 years.
Market cap is market cap. I don't want to double guess the markets, but I think from our own performance point of view, we feel confident about the opportunity that is there.
And you've said it on record, doubling your.
Yeah, we want to double our revenues. And keeping the margins at 23 to 25%, ROCE about 25%. So these are the
very interesting point you made about international markets, and I want to know, since the space is huge और आपने कहा वहाँ opportunity है, what are your picks, favorite markets that you think will give you that kind of growth?
No, I think, if you have to grow in the international markets, you have to succeed in the US, big market, right? So if you look at our presence in the US now, it's significantly increased. If I count not just my enterprise business, but also the business that we do with very large cloud players and the OTTs that we serve, and also the service provider segment. And you add what we have done with the Switch now, and the Kaleyra and so on. We'll be easily $500 million in the US, right? And that market is where we want to. You have to grow in that market. Similarly, if you look at UK and Europe markets, we have a very strong presence in those markets. Our cables from here land in Marseille and then go to London. They go in the US. We have a strong presence, and we have teams now. We built the teams over there. We have a lot of good enterprise customers, and we need to build on that with the portfolio that we have. We have a strong presence in APAC with Singapore, Hong Kong, and the markets that we serve. Many of our customers, China being a country which is all other enterprises find it difficult to serve. We have almost specialized in terms of helping our large global enterprise customers to say, how do you help them to operate there and serve there. So that APAC
the universe
market
is huge. Yeah?
So it's a large marketplace. So and we are carefully picking these markets. So we are not big in LATAM, for example.
Yeah.
We don't do much in Canada.
Not so much in Africa.
Not so much. Africa customers we serve through partnerships. So a very large bank in Asia Pacific. We just won a very large network deal to get them to internet in a good way. And that deal includes a lot of parts of Africa as well, so we'll be able to serve them in those markets.
Okay, so there are some places where you can be stronger, and as you said, your focus will be, of course, US market. It's a no-brainer. Finally, Lakshmi, मैं आपसे एक आखिरी सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि this business is very unique. You clearly are driven by passion, and what you've done as a part of the strategy, I think it's worked very well. So, TCS Japan versus Tata Communications, MD and CEO, global company, which is what it is. What's your favorite? Or what's been more challenging, or what's been more exciting?
No, I think each one of them, I can't rank one. That was a very different challenge.
Yeah, sure. But
And that was a different challenge of entering in a market where it was a joint venture,
Exactly.
big opportunity, new culture for me. I mean, that was the first time I visited Japan, right? Let alone understanding. So it was a steep learning curve. Tata Communications is even a steeper learning curve, right? So while it's a tech company, but still in the communications world. So in the first few days when people used to talk to me, say, whoa, stop and
Let me understand this better.
Don't use any jargons, don't use any acronyms, please draw the picture. All of that is what I used to say. So I think the whole idea was to understand the business.
Sure.
So it was a steep learning curve. So I enjoyed both. I'm enjoying even better now that it's bigger responsibility, of course, to make sure that we
But
deliver
I think
the
you've
promise,
proven your
right?
mettle, and it's not to admit that you have been somebody who's turned around the fortunes of this company.
I think thanks to all my team, who's strategy is one part, but the execution is a big part.
I think it's
And
working very well.
execution
We can
is,
see that, and all the very best. Thank you so much for your
thank
time.